What happened to grandmother's house?
Right now we are in my grandparents' home.
Mama died. They had no attachment to the house.
Generational wealth is a state of mind. It is a way of being. It is something that we all deserve and that is ours. And I think it's taken away from us.
Real estate is the greatest asset. You can rent it. You can borrow money against it. You can live in it.
I didn't want to highlight my grandparents' house in this documentary. I think that's why. It started off from a year ago highlighting my great-grandmother's house. And coincidentally, the day that we filmed that was the last day that I saw my grandmother alive.
Whenever you notice inflation in communities, I know that's the beginning of someone or some people being priced out of the community.
Just the fact of it being a community of color diminishes the value of the property. And it's only on paper.
Deciding to sell the family home is a really big decision. It has an impact not only on the immediate family, but also the community.
For personal reasons and cultural reasons, I didn't want to leave Oakland or Berkeley.
If there's any way possible to retain that home, you have the opportunity to keep the roots in the community.
Sadness, anger at, this system of capitalism, white supremacy, and then how sometimes your own family will take part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's bigger than that in the system, it still hurts when your own family do that shit.
Homes were for people. For our grandmother's generation, they were not for investment. Homes are no longer for people. People buy homes now for profit.
So they like flip houses. It's what they do.
That's their thing.
So I even heard her say that this is their family home, but if someone offered them the right price, they'd sell it too.
Really?
You have these large corporations, hedge funds, buying not just blocks, but just whole communities at this point to create forever renters.
And the same people that selling the house aren't the same people buying the house.
The neighborhoods do need beautification. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong when it can only be done by outside people that don't look like us.
If we were just smart and had conversations with each other about what to do with the wealth that may be there from a grandma's house, for example.
I was actually sitting next to my grandmother when she found out that my great-grandmother's home was being sold. And I felt her heart shatter into a million pieces. I felt it. Soon after that, she wasn't with us anymore.
And I said, land is one of the things that we can't create. And so if you get in early, just like when you said with real estate, over time, eventually it would appreciate. And when we talk about grandmothers, we're talking about 2 generations, great-grandmothers, 3 generations. That lineage of an asset that's just appreciating and compounding over time definitely can be an asset.
The technical word gentrification is not necessarily a bad thing. It's the colonization that we have problems with.
Gentrify your hood before those people do it.
That's what this is all about. It's power. And money is power.
Don't you sell grandma's house.
Stop selling grandma's house.
Please, please. Don't sell grandma's house.
You talk about it, but you won't be about it. Yeah, you talk about it, but you won't be about it. Yeah, you talk about it, but you won't be about it. Yeah, you talk about it, that's all they do.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Well, we here. We in this thing. Welcome to week 2 of the block party. For those of you who are tuning in, having a little bit of technical difficulty with the IG, but we're here and we're going to be able to put this out so people can watch it anytime, later, whenever they want. So it's all to the hood. I'm Shariq Lume, and you are KS.
I'm Keisha Sullivan.
Keisha Sullivan.
It's Consulting LLC now. I'll be so used to saying Cass Consulting Inc. or LLC now.
It must go. So yeah, we're here to discuss Stop Selling Grandma's House. For those of you who just caught the video, it's a ongoing platform that we're trying to build and create at the moment that will be helping us to help others to uncover ways in which we don't have to have outsiders buy up our blocks. And what that looks like is not being forced to or feeling as though you have no other options but to sell grandma or grandpa, auntie, uncle, mama, any of your family legacy homes that you have in your community. Last week, we spoke with Andre Spicer. It was a really amazing conversation. And he alluded to different solutions, which is what we're looking for. One of those being having the ability to use that housing as a means of housing people that are displaced. We also have a homelessness issue, coincidentally, right? So we're just looking for solutions, looking for ways in which we can help and be a bridge to helping people find those solutions and those networks so that you don't have to sell grandma's house. Keisha, is there anything you want to reflect on within this past couple of weeks, just building out this platform? And is there anything that you've learned or anything that you still want to try to tackle while we're going through this process?
Those are 2 hour-long questions. So the first one,
sorry,
what have I learned? So much at a rapid rate. Like I usually can keep up. I'm just like, this is a whole new territory for me. You've been really, really patient in the process. But I've learned a lot just about how even like the basics of of building a production works. And what that looks like as far as outreach and building, and here we are crowdfunding. It's all moving. So, which is a blessing. As far as what was the second piece to that? What have I learned?
Anything that you want to still kind of build upon? Anything, any sort of solution that you're looking for?
There's a lot. I think we learn every day how much more we can add and want to do with this project, because it's like a family tree at this point. There's so many different elements and different pieces to to this project, and not even necessarily just this project, but just to the subject alone. Because when you're talking about selling grandpa's house or grandma's house or your grandparents' house, there's so many elements to that. There's so many other things that come with that, right? So at the end of the day, it's really about us just kind of honing in. I think for me, it's I tend to forget, like, okay, we're honing in on this one subject, but at the end of the day, we're literally creating now. We're opening up the floodgates for other, for other solutions, which is great.
Yeah, like I hadn't even thought about the whole community element and bringing in, different types of organizations that can help those who are displaced, such as those who have, been victims of child abuse or domestic violence or drug abuse, those within the LGBTQI community that have been displaced from their families. So just not coming up with, but hearing about that and realizing that that's a possible solution that actually helps with tenfold with so many other issues in the community. That's been really special. So I'm excited for the future. Make sure you guys are going to our Kickstarter. You can also find it at lemede.com/SSGH, which stands for Stop Selling Grandma's House. We have a very special guest that's going to be joining us today. And this is what I really want, is a community platform for people to be able to have conversation and learn from. And this remarkable young woman, I've known her since high school. And she's always been about her business, always been about her people and her community. And I have been following her journey on her Facebook. She's been a caregiver for her grandmother. And just the two of them were just so cute, so adorable. Just their relationship was just was refreshing to see every day whenever I would scroll on Facebook. And now, a year or so later, after losing her grandma, she was able to keep the home or buy the home.
Oh, nice.
And that was just like, oh my God, it brought tears to my eyes. And I had a conversation with her a couple weeks ago, just letting her know how proud of her I was, but just I have so many questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up Miss LaTroya Cooley. Miss Cooley, how you doing?
Hi. Thank you, Sharik. That was really sweet, and I'm glad to be a part of this space. This is awesome. And what you're doing is amazing, and it just kind of affirms everything that I'm doing in my part of the world. And if there's something I can share and help, that would be great.
I love it. I love it. So yes, LaTroya, meet Keisa. Keisa, meet LaTroya.
Oh, nice to meet you. Thanks for being on. We appreciate it. So
yeah, and what's funny too, Keisa, her grandmother's house is actually really close to the Stewart Street. What street was it on?
Carlton,
right over there, right in the same neighborhood, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we got Berkeley in the house for real. So yeah, I want to congratulate you because that's major. How long has it been since you were able to buy your grandmother's house?
So in June of 2021, I became the homeowner. So signed the documents, and I was the owner of the house. It was a long journey. Court situations, legal situations, but at the end of the day, I'm the owner of the home.
That's right.
That's amazing. What made you say? Go ahead, Keisa. Did you have a question?
I'm just like, I have all these questions, but go ahead, Sheree.
No, I was just gonna say, what made you say to yourself, like, okay, I'm keeping this house. Like, there's no way I'm just gonna let this house go. Like, what was it that spoke to your spirit and made you say, I'm not gonna let this house be sold to whoever. It has to stay with me.
Absolutely. So good question. For me, it was, as you mentioned, I was the caregiver to my grandmother. I took care of her through her days of dementia. And to be honest with you, maybe 7 years ago, I was in a position where I wanted to give my grandmother something new and nice. And I was like, Mama, let's just sell the house and we'll go somewhere and buy something new, because as we know, construction costs money. Right. And at that time, I wasn't in the position to be the homeowner on the house. The home was in reverse mortgage, which I can talk about later, but it was kind of a plan that I actually came up with. Not sure if it was good or bad, but at the end result, I was able to keep the home. But there were discussions about like, hey, what if we sell the house? We can walk away with $800,000 and move where, go where, right? And she's like, I don't want to sell my house. I want to keep my house. So at that moment, I was like, okay, let's keep the house. We're going to keep this house. We're going to do whatever we can to just make sure it stays here with us. And so, in my grandmother's last days, she wanted to be in her home, and she was on hospice care, and I brought her home, and that's where she, took her last breaths. And so at that point, it was just like this mission of mine. And even before then, it was just this mission of mine to just keep this house. It was important to me. And I always thought, like, what if I sold this house and I came by and it was done? It was nice. It was new. I think I would just like crumble. My heart would break. And so that was kind of like my motivation. Yeah, there's a little house.
Yes.
It's a cute little thing. But it's 102 years old and it needs a ton of work. Okay. So that was what kind of like motivated me. I was like, I just have to keep this house. I cannot let somebody, especially someone who didn't look like me or my family, just come in here, because that's what they would do. Come in here and just make it something that I could, if I would just be patient and creative and figure out how to get the funds to do it myself, that can make it so that we can enjoy it and love it and put the love into it that it needs. I was just like, I just got to keep it. So when she passed away, I was like, okay, this has to happen. And so I worked day and night hard, to just make sure that this house was going to stay with me. Not even just within my family, but with me.
Yeah. Oh, that's key.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, for sure. At what point did you realize, I mean, I know you said that your grandma was really instrumental in your thought process as far as like her saying she wanted to keep the home. Was there any other like siblings, aunts, uncles that okay, so you had to go consult with the family, or was it just like indefinite, like LaTroya?
So in my family, I have 2 brothers and a mother, and I'm the youngest. And so actually, if we look into how the law is set up, I was actually the last on the totem pole to be able to, who should be able to receive this house. So before, we had some legal documents drawn up, and I was like the most responsible one. And so it was known that, okay, LaTroya is going to get the house. And so even though we had legal documents written up, the verbiage in it wasn't correct. So that was another battle for another time and story. But there were courts involved, and I basically had to prove to the courts that this is what my grandmother wanted.
Wow.
And then the courts were like, well, why is it bypassing your older brothers and your mother, her daughter? And it was like, well, I'm the only one that's responsible enough to take care of it.
So if I interject really quick, because that's actually a really interesting and common, unfortunately, that's a very common scenario as far as not you going through the court process, but of there not. It sounds like there was no like living trust or will in position. Or
there was, and like I said, the verbiage, the way that the lawyer wrote it up, the verbiage wasn't correct. So when I tried to go in and add my name onto the house, they were like, well, she can't sign because she had dementia, and her husband can't sign because it's not written here that he can make those decisions without her.
Wow.
Which is and also, just a little backstory, the home's been in my family for over 80 years. And so the courts do look at how the home was acquired.
Right.
When they look at transferring deeds and adding people onto it. So that kind of was a hiccup too. So unfortunately, I had to literally wait for my grandmother to pass away in order for my grandfather to be the sole person and then add me on. So there was things that kind of got twisted up there. But there was one, it wasn't written correctly, unfortunately. So we were thinking we're doing the right thing where we wouldn't have any hassles. No, not true. So the project that I'm actually doing right now, Sharik, with remodeling, took a little bit longer because I didn't have full access to the house.
Wow. With that.
That is.
Girl. So you're high. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. That's the picture I saw.
She's doing it.
Wow. Gutted it.
It's gutted.
Full remodel. Wow. Is it still under the process of construction, or is it complete?
It is still very much under construction right now. They're doing some foundation work, and they're actually doing all the work that they can do without the permits. City of Berkeley's taking forever with the permits. Go figure. So it's looking pretty much like that picture, that second picture you saw.
Wow. Kudos to you, man. That's remarkable. You're just aside of the valuation of it, the fact that you even had the guts to do that. And I think if nothing else, I just learned something with that as well, because it was kind of the same. It was kind of the same for my grandma. She didn't have. It was just kind of like she's kind of told this person that, but that's on the flip side, my father, we know, all the way down to his socks. So in a nutshell, to whomever is watching this, I don't care if you write on a Post-it note, if you write on an index card, if you write on a sock, put it in your Bible, put it in your drawer, where you want your glasses to go, your earrings to go. It is very, 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 very important. It is hard to execute anything. It's hard to execute a will when or to respect the wishes when it's not sound, and your talking as well. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother kit and caboodle. So please, to those of you watching tonight, I don't care if it's on a notepad, write it down, put it somewhere where someone, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 people know where it is, because that's huge. That's really, really important. And you know, in
Absolutely.
your case, your grandma, bless her heart, she in her mind, she had it all, you know, written out. One of my really good friends kind of had a similar scenario. I'm trying to see if she's gonna be able to get on tonight, if not next week. But like my heart is like wrenching because it's almost identical.
Mhm.
She bought, same thing. She took care of her grandma her whole young life, from all through high school. I really much rather her tell the story, but long story short, she ended up keeping the home when her grandmother passed away, not even knowing that her grandma ended up leaving everything to her. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I have a question. What do you wish you would have known before you started the process that you know now? The process of keeping grandma's house.
What I wish I mean, it's all been a learning process, you know.
Mhm.
It's all happened how it's supposed to happen,
Right.
even though
Yeah.
it's taking longer.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there is anything that I could have known before this, only because these laws, everything is just so multifaceted and
And ever changing rapidly, seems like. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And one thing I don't wish to answer your question, there's not anything that I can think of off the top of my head about something I wish I would have known, but the advice I wish I would have had is, and what I would give to people is like, yes, get it written down, but also we have to think, I'm a nurse, so we have to think about the medical things that happen with our grandparents and our parents. And do not wait till grandma doesn't know where her glasses are at to start trying to prepare these documents. Because a lawyer is going to look at you and look at you like you're crazy. Like, why you got grandma in here and she doesn't know her name?
Right.
So to do it sooner than later, there's no harm in getting these things done sooner than later. It can always be changed by the person who created it. But it gets difficult when you start to deal with mental faculties diminishing and, you know, then the question of elder abuse comes up, and is this really what the person wants? And then you have lawyers questioning you, which that is their job. That is their job, to make sure that the person who's making these decisions are in their right mind. So that's one thing I guess I would have wished to do, wish I would have known, is just to do it early. But like I said, I felt like we tried to do the right thing, and we didn't find out it was the wrong thing until we needed to use it. If that makes sense. We had everything in place, and then it was just like lenders were like, no, this isn't the right word, it needs to say this, and there's no way to change it after the dementia kicked in. So it was just, we were stuck. I guess what I wish I would have known is just like how to maybe add myself onto the house before.
Right.
Before when I did.
Yeah. Would that have been a easy process? I know you said you everything had to kind of bypass her direct descendant to you, and then you also have an older sibling. Could that process have been smooth for you, or do you
think it would have been a lot smoother if I would have been added on to the deed.
Right. You would have been like next kin kind of thing.
So then what were some of the obstacles that you did overcome because you had to go through that? I know you said that you had to go through, all of the legal battles. Was there anything in particular that like really stands out that was like surprising? Like, wow, I really just had to go through all of that just to get to this. Was there anything that maybe could be enlightening to someone else going through the same process?
Yeah. So the thing that was like, wow, was that this will and last testament was not written correctly.
Right.
And that the lawyer just did not, even though this was their specialty, was this is what they did not write it correctly. And it wasn't until we had to use the document that we found out that this is no good. And so when I took it to another lawyer, they were like, yeah, this wasn't written properly. That's why you cannot add yourself onto the house. That's why you cannot pull the house out of reverse mortgage, which is what the house was in reverse mortgage when I took over it. And so that means that every month there was fees and a mortgage accruing on the balance. So when I finally pulled it out, where we're at. So it wasn't a clean cut, you know, oh, you own the house outright. I still owe on the house. No, it's not what people are paying for homes in the Bay Area, but it wasn't like a clean, you know, gift to me or whatnot. But so yeah, it was just that, like, you trust in a lawyer. This is what they do. This is what they go to school for. This is what they specialize in. And then only to find out that you didn't mean this document is useless. And so I don't know what I could have done to like double check that or
What did you have to do to overcome that? What was something that you guys had to do eventually to rectify the situation?
So the only thing that because my grandmother's dementia was so severe at the time, I basically had to wait till she passed away, and my grandfather became the sole owner. And then when he became the sole owner, he could pass it to me. But that was the only thing that we could have done, because with her being alive, she would have had to sign, but she could not sign because her dementia was so full-fledged.
Got it. I just wanted to kind of go over reverse mortgage for people a reverse mortgage is a mortgage loan usually secured by residential property that enables the borrower to access the unencumbered value of the property. The loans are typically promoted to older residents. I didn't have enough space, but you guys get it. So a lot of people, you know, coming to this stage, they have the realization, the aha moment. Maybe sometimes, I don't know about your situation, but maybe sometimes grandma got this reverse loan and didn't tell anybody. They don't know that this is what she did because they weren't having those conversations. I've seen situations or instances where they got the reverse loan and it was, you know, the interest rates were extremely high. So you can tell that grandma was talked into something that she had no business doing. But of course, she was either doing it to secure funds for someone else, or you hear the story in the Black community so many times, whether something needed to be fixed, or I hate to say it, but maybe somebody was in a jam, they were in jail, she had to get somebody out, or there's so many different situations where this comes about. And I think definitely being proactive is the best case scenario in this particular situation, and in most situations, just understanding what is going on within the situation within the home, having a check-in every couple of years just to kind of see, like, hey grandma, hey grandpa, auntie, uncle, what's going on with the house? You know, let's put some paperwork together, let's file some stuff, let's have a good look at it. But I think for us as the millennials, and we're dealing with grandparents, it's harder for us because we kind of don't have the right, so to speak, to do that because we're not the children. And we don't want to overstep anybody or step on anybody's toes or anything of that nature. So then I wanted to ask you, how was that, being that you are the granddaughter? And I know you were the caretaker, so that probably definitely helped because you already had your foot in, like, I'm her caretaker.
I stepped on toes.
Okay.
Saying that were you like her, like, legal guardian, legal caretaker kind of thing, or was it just like
it was just like an unspoken, like, and I was the one who was doing it. I was the one who was there. I was the one who was her healthcare advocate. I took her to appointments. She lived with me, and then I moved back into the house and lived with her. I sacrificed everything to take care of her, and I made those decisions. I didn't go away to college because I knew that she was going to need me. So, you know, I stayed in the Bay Area, and I went to a very expensive nursing school when I could have probably went to the South somewhere, you know. So I made a lot of decisions in my life surrounding being a caregiver for her. So even though I'm the youngest, I stepped on toes, and that meant her daughter, my mother, and my brothers. I just was like, this is reality. This is the facts, you know? And I didn't care who unfortunately, or fortunately, I didn't care who I made upset in the end of the day, because I know that if that house would have fell into the wrong hands, it would have been sold. Yeah. And I wasn't going to have that. And you guys can be mad at me, But fortunately, for me, and I know this is not common for a lot of people, I got the blessings. Once the
Good.
house was in my name and they started to see the construction being
Yeah,
done,
wow,
and they knew they could never afford it or do anything with it, I got the blessings of the family members that matter, that my mother and my two siblings. So,
and was it just your mother that? Yeah, was it just your mother that? Well, hats off to you. Sometimes it's necessary. You saw the bigger picture, in that regard, and it's a beautiful thing that that in hindsight they see the reasoning behind why you went so hard. You know what I mean? And is your mother was she the only sibling?
She was the only surviving. Yeah, my grandmother had two children, and one passed away in his late 20s. But yeah, my mother was her only surviving child.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of times you hear it's like in me and Sharik's case, we have big families, and so it's multiple chiefs and decision makers, and and that tends to cause a little more strife throughout the process. But no, that's amazing. Did you ever get to a point where you were like, you know what, I'm just gonna sell the house, or I'm just gonna use it for this or that? Or I know it gets frustrating. I could only imagine. Like I said, I seen one of my really good friends go almost. You guys is almost mirrored. So hearing you talk, I'm just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, how did you overcome that when you did have those moments? I could imagine you could come out of court and hearing from a judge the will wasn't written properly, from a lawyer. It's and I'm really anal about that. Sharik can tell you I'm like a double, triple checker. But you don't think to do that when you're paying someone who is certified to do this. So to hear you say that, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And all these years went by and she thought, I have it set up, and that wasn't the case. So how did you overcome those moments? What did you do?
Yeah. I had those moments, and I think I had a moment up in most recently, maybe 5 months ago, but I'd already had the house in my name. But, I had a couple moments when she was alive, and I just wanted her in something new and bright. I couldn't make it nice for her. I wanted it then. But she's like, I want to stay in my house. I'm like, okay. I had real estate people come and just what do you think I can get for this house? Then I had to sit on it, They're like, oh yeah, we could get this house sold in 5 days. And I'm like, I don't know. If you can get it sold in 5 days, I might want to keep this.
Yeah. Exactly. Hold up.
I'm like, you onto something. And I have people still will knock on the door, will call, send mail, talking about they want cash offers for that house.
Oh yeah.
What do they look like, Troy? What do they look like? Just out of curiosity.
I have had an offer for 3.2 mil. Some silly stuff like 1 million. I'm like, please.
Right.
Are these people are they of a particular descent?
Yes, they are not like us.
Okay.
They're investors. Because the house was so damaged and needs so much work. I mean, someone would come in there and bulldoze that house down and build an apartment.
Yeah, the land is where the value comes.
It's the land. It's not the house.
Yeah, it's prime real estate. Yeah, my grandfather's home on Stewart Street. And when we saw it, we're like, this is not the house. The house is nice, but this was brand virtually staged the home. Now there's so many ways to sell a home without even seeing it. So they virtually staged the home, and it's still sold for over 1 point. So for 1.2.
You said 3. Sheesh.
Yeah, that was virtually staged, and that's probably what it's worth now under construction. Once it's done.
Oh yeah, when I got the house appraised, when I had to go through all the legal, switching my name and getting my name on there, it appraised as is, and it was crappy. As you can see, the house was completely open, so that's just a little pimp. It appraised for 1.5.
Yeah.
And some of the offers are tempting, and I could walk away and be a millionaire. pay off the debt and be a millionaire. But what is,
no,
I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, you know, the house is sentimental to me. Just recently, you know, my grandmother passed away in 2020, right before COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
And so it's sentimental to me, and it's important for me to keep the shape of the house, to keep the look of the house, modernize it inside, of course, because, you know, we're millennials. We like to do stuff like that, but to just keep the features and, you know, for it to look exactly like the picture that, you know, Sharik first showed, and the black and white picture. So it's going to stay like that.
Again, for anybody new, I might goes to the comments, but it's older picture. So for those of you who are not Bay Area natives, this is like a typical. My grandfather's was
Victorian looking,
almost the same, yeah, with the long driveway, yep, windows in the back. Oh my gosh! And then that's you know, Bay Area home. Once you go to the Bay Area once or twice, you know, just
you know. Sure.
I could just make it a square box and just call it a day, but I
actually ask you that. Are you going to keep it's kind of like a villa style? I like that.
All of that staying the same. The front, the stairs with the swoop on the side, I don't even know what you call it, but all that staying the same. Just adding on to the back of the house. It's basically a rectangle and just all the way back, and just adding some more square footage in the bathroom, because it's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath right now. So it'll be a 3-bedroom, 2 bath, with a bonus room to it. So,
so LaTroya, you do realize you are the epitome of gentrification, of what it should look like. And what, God willing, in my lifetime, but hopefully within the next decade, we start to see more of this at a rapid rate. I'm in the South, so you see it all often. But you know, you hear gentrification, and it tends to come with this stigma of, oh, they're putting up a Whole Foods, they're putting up a Chipotle, they're putting up, you know. But that's just the colonization of it all. I don't know if you got to kind of pay attention to how we've been doing all of our marketing and stuff, but we're really trying to hone in on gentrification is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just what gentrification looks like and who's doing the gentrifying. Typically like us. So I'm elated. I'm like honored to even have spoken with you. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. And the fact that you're so young and you haven't folded at any given moment is just amazing. We're probably, Sheree probably will talk to you about having you. She needs her own episode.
Oh no, yeah, we're definitely gonna see. No, I we don't want to take up too much of your time. We really appreciate you. I do want to show this picture. Can you please share with us what your grandmother's name is? This is her, right? This your girl.
That's a classic right there.
I love it. Baby smoking a cigarette, you know. But yes, that's my grandmother. She's probably like 25 in this picture on the front lawn of our house. I'm part of this keeping the house thing is I'm finding all these pictures, all these documents. They all tell a story. And yeah, I'm just finding all these amazing pictures. Sharik, you're gonna make me cry. You bringing this picture up.
I'm sorry. I just thought it was so cute.
I like to. No,
but what's crazy is you said she was like 25, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how old she was when she bought the house?
So she did not buy this house. This house was my great-grandparents' house.
Wow.
She was raised in this house.
Wow.
My grandmother's, the family is from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
So they came over here when they were like 5. So she was raised in that house. My mom was raised in that house. I was semi-raised in that house. My brothers were raised in that house. So when I see pictures like that, and when I was cleaning up the house, because there were so many generations of stuff in that house. I had dumpsters in the front. So it's like, Grandma, why do you have 3 boxes of the same china from QVC Network?
Okay, so pause, because I'm like, because I had to do the same thing, and 5, 6 women like, no, keep this, no, keep. I mean, down to like robes, pajamas, like socks, literally nylon, like stuff that you just like, no, I know that you wore this every Sunday, you know. I still have my grandma's robe and I never washed it. I was upset with my mom when she threw away her last bar of soap that she took a bath in my bath. I'm like, why did you throw it away? She's like, it's almost been a year, Keith. Soap's gotta go. But I still have like pillows, like, you know. So to hear you say you had a dumpster, what did you? I'm only assuming you had help, right?
I had help, yeah. But it was just generations of, and it's just like what, like Dr. McKnight spoke about, like family homes were for us to live in, right? They weren't for to be sold and to be profitable.
Right.
So that home and that dumpster with all that stuff in it was just a result of years and decades of people living in the home because they needed to be there. They were down on their soap, but you know, our people passed away. You know, when we took over the house, when we moved in, we didn't really like necessarily clean from the, you know, clean slate. We just put our stuff in there too. We have 2 diners,
right?
I thought about that.
Yeah,
and 20
all kind of stuff that you're like, no, this gotta go.
So it forced me to like, okay, if I gotta get this house done, like I have to clean this out. And so it was like a 2-year process. And I say that because not because it actually took 2 years, but you know, life happens.
Right.
You do it in stages, and you got just a little bit of money to pay $800 for a dumpster this one time, you know. And you got neighbors trying to put stuff in your dumpster.
You're like, you didn't you didn't put in on this.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I took it out and I put it back on their front porch where it belongs.
Boss status. I wanted to show a couple more pictures of the house. This is you, right?
Yes, and my brother
in the house. That's so cute.
That is so cute.
And then this is your granny and your papa standing in front of the house.
Yeah, you guys have strong dreams.
I love it. And then I wanted to show this one. This is like,
this is it. That's my great grandmother, Miss Mildred, and my great aunt Vanita, and my great uncle Paul, and my grandmother in the purple. I think she's in something purple.
And this is in front of the house.
This is in front of the house. And so when I see pictures like this, it just was like, okay, LaTroya, this isn't just some little house that you lived in for 10 years. This is something that housed, you know, generations of people, and you know, we're just keeping it. It's just, there's no questions. There's no doubt. And you know, I was really like in awe when you approached me because I didn't have really an idea about what you were doing, and it just kind of affirmed what I'm doing. I'm doing the right thing, you know, because at the end of the day, it's just me. It's just me figuring this out and doing it, and you know, trusting in these contractors, you know, because then you don't want just anybody working on your house, right? And there was a time where, like I said, when I wanted to give up, was like when these contractors were trying to give me these bids, like $800,000. Are you giving me land too, sir?
I know, right? And it's rampant right now, especially with the way like the last 2 years. The markets were just hot, even in California. It's you know,
and they think you live in Berkeley and you got money, but it's like, no, this is a generational house. This is not money. This is just like, we're just trying to make it out here, y'all. Like,
which brings me to my next question. And then, like I said, we don't want to take up too much of your time, but what are some resources that you think there should be more of that you could have taken advantage of going through your process for someone else going through the process now or about to go through the process in terms of working with contractors or even finding funding to help you pay for certain things, grants, or are there any of those that you were able to find or that you wish you could have found?
I wish I could have found some grants. I'm doing this solely based on my income and pulling some equity out of the house. So I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing this alone. I mean, I wish that I could find some grants. So if you guys know some,
I was gonna say definitely offline. We'll I can probably There's for sure.
But I think some things that people can look into, and something that I looked into was I went to some workshops about the legalities of it and what a will meant and what, and this was unfortunately after I had the situation with my poorly written documents. But just get that, because that is the foundation of just keeping the homes that we have in the right people's hands. And I'll try and get you the information of this one lawyer who had the workshop. It was a little while ago in Alameda, but it just kind of helps explain everything and why it's important. You know, I know you were joking about write it on a sock. You can't write on a sock. It's gotta be.
You have to cut the sock open. You have to
know what I'm saying?
3, 4, 5 socks. No.
No, I keep trying to tell my mom that, you know, without putting her stuff out there in the street.
Because it's hard to talk about death. But that's one thing in life that's guaranteed is death. And when you embrace that and you kind of, and for me, thank God, we don't have a lot of death in my family. You know what I mean? When my grandmother passed on, it was like heavy and it was sudden. So between her and my grandfather was like, it's irrevocable. Y'all got this. I got a new life. They have this. Like it was very boom, boom, boom. But yeah, that it is a hard conversation to have, but it's necessary. There's template. I just found a template for a living trust, and I went through the whole template, and I'm like, I can get this notarized, and boom. But it's really about the verbiage and really just making sure that even to hear that, it's so like, because when it comes to like living trust and stuff, I always think like, okay, well, it is what the person says it is. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even think about that part of it as far as it's incorrectly written. It's like if I say LaTroya gets this cup, LaTroya gets the doggone cup. You know what I mean? But so it's interesting to hear you say that, because it's not. It's definitely not
anything. My understanding of it is that anyone can challenge it.
Yes.
And so that's where it gets, it gets weird. And that was also part of the reason why I took so long to start the project, is because I was waiting to see if I was going to get challenged. Because I wasn't going to put a dime of my money into something that I was going to have to split 4 ways.
Right.
And so there's all these things that, if you're not a lawyer, and if you're not a lawyer who specializes in this type of estate planning, there's so many clauses, and it's different by state, and all these things factor into it. So, I mean,
I was going to ask you, I'm sorry, have you reached out, or you might, I don't know if you're aware or not, but Alameda County has economic development grants. They have tons. So I'll make sure to get you that. Yeah, my dad, he's been sending me like a bunch of stuff, and then they have like loans and stuff for like remodel. But there's stuff out there now specifically for like infrastructure, like if you're remodeling or if you're like prime real estate area. Alameda County has coins. California just got $1 billion. So that's all about to trickle down. They just got it September 16th. So
that's good to know. This is helpful for me. You're asking me about resources. You got all the resources.
You guys bring up the challenge aspect, because that could potentially work in your favor if you're trying to keep the house and you want to challenge the will that was set in stone. I just wanted to bring up another little definition. If you want to contest a will, you should submit a challenge before the will is admitted to probate. That's key. You can do this after you receive a notifying petition for probate. However, to challenge the will, you will have to appear in person before the court and object to the will at the initial probate hearing. So there's the probate. There's just like all these different, like I've heard of a probate hearing before all of this started. So I think it's great that you brought up that there are workshops. And I think it's, like you said, had you been proactive with that, you probably could have skipped a couple of, with the F moments. And been more prepared. So definitely workshops is key. I love that you mentioned that. And that's really what we want to do with this platform. We're not only trying to do a documentary, we're trying to find resources. We're trying to create resources and get funding for these resources. So if you're watching, if you're tuning in, please pledge to our initiative. You can go to lemede.com/SSGH, which will take you into our Kickstarter, and you can pledge. All we need is like $20, $35 a day, $10, whatever you can.
On food a day.
Right. Like this is what we're doing. This isn't going into my pockets, even though I would love it, but it ain't. It's going to the bigger picture, because this is expensive. And like you said, we live in California. Everything is inflated. Everything is inflated. The housing market is crazy right now. It's ridiculous. So I'm like, to me, in my eye, you are like a superhero. Like, you are so brave.
You are such an anomaly, and to first be able to highlight your journey is, like I said, it's an honor. And whatever we can do to help, I have like once we get off, I'll get your contact and I'll just send you over everything. And then, babysit those contractors, girl. I had to learn the hard way last year.
I'm there every day.
Babysit them. As long as they know that you're on it, they got to be on it. So anything we can do to help. Shariq has a large network. I know you know that. I have a pretty large network in California as well. So we're here.
We're in this together for sure.
I definitely hope you have a housewarming.
I am.
A rebirth.
I know we love
to help.
We definitely want to film, and hopefully you allow us to follow your journey as you're going through the process. I would love to see the big reveal of the house when we're all done, and just let you bask in that. Like, I know you're already basking in the fact that you're able to do this right now, but like I said, in my eye, you're a superhero. Like, because just doing this by yourself, and just all the powers that be that were against you. I know they say as Black women, giving us this title of being strong, we need help, and so I'm gonna continue to pray for you and pour light and energy into your journey constantly. You have good vibes and good energy from me. I thank you for sharing your journey on Facebook, because it's been so inspiring, not only to me, I know other people that we know that have been inspired by you. So God bless you. God bless your grandmother, because I know she's happy. And before I start crying. But it's important. It's really important. Our grandmothers and our great grandparents, they went through a lot to get these houses, to create homes. And it's not even the house, it's the home. Just imagine the circumstances in which they even had to come to California in the first place. A lot of them were fleeing, just straight up racism and hatred and bigotry to get to California to create better lives. How dare we step on that? How dare we? How dare we? And I thank you so much, Latoya, for being an example. Because now I have somebody I can say, she did it. She doing it. And she's successful.
Seriously. And there's beauty in the struggle. You know what I mean? And this is just all part of the process. Like I said, being that you're like so young, it's beautiful to see. I think you're definitely going to be instrumental in inspiring others. This is happening as we speak at a rapid rate, because people are hurting. We're in a recession, whether they want to, whoever's watching, whether they want to say it or not, now is the time to go down the line, sit with your family, see what you guys can do to minimize and maximize, to be able to really like plan for the next 6 months, even, because we don't know. You know what I mean? So
we don't know.
Thank you so much.
You guys are inspiring.
Like, where did the hour go?
I know that went by super fast.
Like, he's gonna make
you guys are awesome for doing this. Like, you guys are gonna help so many people, and motivate people, because even though I'm doing it already, I'm like, okay, I have a new boost of energy. And I initially was just sharing stuff on Instagram and Facebook just because I wanted to document it. And I think it's reached out to a lot of people, and people have reached out to me, and they're like, well, how can I do this to help? Do you know anybody who knows how to do this? And it's just like, anything that I can do to help someone figure it out, then I'm going to try to do that, so it's just important. I think it's great that you are doing this. This is so awesome. And it's just only going to bring goodness to our community and what we need.
Because a lot of it is, go ahead. No, I was gonna say a lot of it is like shame and embarrassment. I think people are embarrassed when they have to tell somebody like, "Oh, I lost my grandparents' home," or "Oh, we lost the house." You know, there's just, and then thus people don't want to talk about it as they're going through the process or before they get to the process. So I think eliminating that shame and putting a light on it and saying, "Hey, you're not the only one, and this is actually something that's happening to a lot of us, and this is why." So let's fight back together, unified. And you know, like I said, that's why I say you're a superhero, because a lot of people don't even want to talk about it. I'm being judged for talking about it within my family. I'm being, you know, ridiculed for it. So of course, so many people don't want to talk about it, but this is why we have this platform.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's awesome. Stay on your truth, your path, and your truth, and you know, all good things are gonna come from it.
You are definitely part of the village.
Yes.
Whatever I can do to help you on your journey. Don't be surprised if networks start knocking at your door literally next.
Okay, well, come on.
Sharik is the production guru, but I can see that for you next. I mean, yeah, because it is. I mean,
oh wow, we have a special guest that wants to come and say hi real quick.
Okay.
Hi, Aunt.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, we can't hear
you.
Mute. Okay, try again. Maybe turn your volume up.
Oh no, we can't hear him.
Oh.
Okay. He just wanted to come and say hi to you, Troy.
Oh.
He just wanted to come and say hello.
So
I know it's like I said, we're a whole community, and we've just been trying to, you know, build and embrace each other as we're going through this. We got to add you to our group text. We have a whole group text where we've been talking about. We're gonna add you in the group text, girl, because it's crazy out here. But no, Ant, hopefully we can get Ant on next time, because he has a lot to say, and his people are definitely very much so involved in the Berkeley community as well. They own KC's Barbecue, and so I know that he's been a pillar in this as well. Wait, I think he came back. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm like, we got about.
We got you. Can we hear you?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, I feel like a true boomer. I do apologize.
Welcome to the Stop Selling Grandma's House
Block Party. No, and I know you had something you wanted to say about this topic, and I know you've been bigging up Troya too and what she's been doing.
Yeah, I've been rooting for Troya. I've just been a little fan on the sidelines. But yeah, I feel like she's definitely paving the way for all of us, and I feel like we're all going through the same thing. I'm really grateful that, you know, my grandparents did take care of business. But as far as improving the house, they own the house, but improving the house and being like the last black family on their block, we gotta like figure out what kind of loans we need to take out, and loans that my grandfather can take out to help his grandkids, you know, as you know, discounts as a veteran and things like that. We're trying to deal with all of this now, and dealing with stubborn old folks is also a challenge. You know, it's not just that they're stuck in their ways, or there's so many issues that are aligned with, you know, trauma, therapy that's needed, and just fighting uphill battles. But it's so worth it in the end, to leave a legacy for your grandchildren and their children. So yeah, I'm so happy about this movement, and I'm so excited to learn more with you all. And y'all are going to force me to really learn about home ownership, because I can only be a nomad for so long, you know.
That you are.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much. And then yeah, just again, because we're closing out, just you guys please support, tell a friend, and a friend. If you know someone going through this, please guide them to us, because we want to tell these stories. We also want to create resources. We want to find resources, because there's some that are already out there. They just need to be talked about and told about, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. So don't be ashamed. Don't think that you're the only one going through it. All of us on this platform have gone through it in one way or another, or are preparing to go through it. So yeah, let's just keep this train moving. So thank you guys again, and we'll be back next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.